person at the bottom who's made the scapegoat. It's either the cook for midday meals or the teacher for other issues related to education. But in fact, they are just the smallest cog in the whole wheel, and they do function under a lot of constraints as well.
You're watching Correspondence on Tehelka.com, and today we're here to talk about the after effects of an incident that took place a week ago in Bihar, in the district of Chhapra, where 23 children died of consuming pesticide-ridden food. Why have we only woken up to this issue now? And what does this mean for children going to school across the country? What has the state's response been, not just in Bihar, but across the country? And where can we go from here? To discuss this with me is a colleague from Tehelka, Ushinur, Kiran Bhatti, who is now the Center for Policy Research, but has spent her entire life discussing, scrutinizing education right from the primary level in her capacity with the National Commission for the Protection of Child Rights. And Harsh Mandar, who is an expert on equity, poverty issues, has advised the government on education and food. And without further ado, Harsh, I want to start by asking you first, where do you think, if we were to open up the underbelly of what's going on with the midday meal scheme, the government even today very proudly, and in fact even more vociferously after this incident, has been advertising on its website that they provide food to 12 crore children in 12 lakh schools. That's a big number. 12 crore children, 12 lakh schools, the largest in the world. But also the most inefficient?
Three very quick things in the positive, and then I'll just say what I feel is really the problem. That what we must see is that it's seen as a nutrition program, and it is, and for many children it's the most important meal. And I've really traveled to the far interiors, and it's heartbreaking when you see the children really saying that this is the only meal that they're eating. It encourages school enrollment. It also, in a sense, there's a economic trade-off that poor parents sometimes make, and that at least what the child would have earned, at least the child is eating that amount, etc. So that there's that incentivization. But for me, actually, the most forgotten element of what it teaches is also social equality, because in India, our in caste, religion, class, all of these inequalities are expressed by not eating together, and children are taught to eat together. 120 million children with ups and downs is an extraordinary achievement. Let's say that. To me, the big lesson, and is it's a wake-up call for how casually we treat any program which deals with the poor. If you don't have children, I have, and if our children were eating in midday meals, we would all be really concerned about these failures, because these are programs only for poor children. The fact that the facts of this is that there was no school building. It was running in Vikas Bhavan. There was no storage.
Yes.
There were two teachers, of which one was on maternity leave. The other was a untrained para teacher. She was teaching 5 sets. A para teacher was teaching 5 classes of children, and there was no storage. She had to buy the food every day, and she was doing what she could. Please let us remember that this is how we treat the poorest in our country.
Right.
That's the lesson for me.
Kiran, when we talk about this wish list, this is what you've been saying, and everybody who works with children has been saying for the longest time that we need. Where is it that why is the system continually breaking down, despite the fact that from time to time we've had episodes which highlight all these things in the starkest possible way?
Now, the midday meal program, amongst the food programs, as Harsh said, has been thought of and perhaps is also the better running program. But unfortunately, as the Chhapra incident has shown, perhaps we are not really aware of actually how things are working on the ground as much as one would like to be. And I, frankly, as in my role in the National Commission, when we were monitoring schools, time and time again, state after state, we actually found that there were a lot of problems in the implementation even of midday meal schemes. And perhaps the benchmark for food programs has become so low that one thinks that the midday meal is a well-functioning program. But in fact, that is not the case. It's the unfortunate truth is that it's not the case, and there are scores and scores of issues at every level of implementation, monitoring, and of course the whole accountability question, etc. I mean, Tamil Nadu is one case which is constantly cited as, sort of the best practice in a sense, and it's very clear why that is the case, because there has been a lot of political.
Politics plays itself out.
Yeah, and it's a political issue, and so therefore there is a lot of the government has put money, has put resources, and backs it to the hilt, and that is why you see the result on the ground. Everywhere else it is treated so callously, in a sense, in terms of the administrative delivery of it, that it's not at all surprising that something like Chhapra has happened. Of course, it doesn't mean that the government is incapable, and in fact the good stories tell you that if the government really wants to, if it has the political will to do it, it can deliver perfectly well. It's just that most of the time, because that political pressure is not there, or if they're not willing to take that political pressure, then you have instances like this taking place. And in fact, the midday meal, it covers not just the government schools, which are about 13 lakh, but it's supposed to cover the education guarantee centers, it's supposed to cover also the aided schools. So it's really a huge program. And on paper, it is now no longer just a program for nutrition. It has in fact become part of a larger school health program.
Yeah.
And those links, which are very important, and the links to sanitation, to clean water, etc., which make it actually, increase the use of it. Those links are even more sort of tenuously established in terms of the implementation structure. And then even though Supreme Court orders have separated and given provision for cooks and helpers so as to free up teachers' time, the overall supervision that needs to be there from school management isn't there. So what's happened is it's become a hands-off thing that, it's not our job.
You were talking about the political will thing, and it's something that we see all over the country, especially when there are two different national parties, or let's say, there's Congress at the center and there are other regional parties, let's say at a state level. And we always talk about this, these two words, political will and vision. So, what is your observation? I've observed maybe a state or two from a ground level. What is your observation? Like, are the states unwilling to take on a scheme which has been put up by the center?
I was under a dilemma, in fact, even while I was coming in the car, as a Supreme Court Commissioner, should we write to the state government?
As a Supreme Court Commissioner
on the right to food. So I was just thinking, should I write to the state government? At some point, I feel everybody is thrashing it, and is this an appropriate time? Because this was a tragedy that could have happened anywhere. It was not specific to this kind of breakdown.
In the same week, falling sick in schools in Madhya Pradesh, in Tamil Nadu.
Yeah, it's just that, and it's a tragedy. It's a tragedy. As I was saying, it's a tragedy. It wasn't just a tragedy waiting to happen. It's probably a tragedy that continues to happen on a somewhat lower scale, so it's not sort of come into public consciousness. I think that my issue is that actually I should be writing to the center about first provisioning the scheme adequately.
Just want to quickly jump in on the political point the question that you had raised. Actually, Tamil Nadu is a classic example, because Tamil Nadu government has never really been the same government at the center. Right. But yet they have, no, doesn't stop any state government and any political party to actually take political advantage of it for itself. And so Tamil Nadu government has actually put in a lot more funds, has sort of reformed their own system, and they get the votes for it. And so there should not be a center state political conflict.
What about this entire culture of para-teachers that we are cultivating in India?
But that's no longer, sorry if I may just jump in, actually para-teachers have been banned under the Right to Education Act. They are there because there is time has been given to phase them out, in order, because overnight you can't sort of ask them to leave their job, and you would not be able to get enough teachers as well.
So that is, you're talking of substitute teachers.
Yeah, not necessarily substitute. Ad hoc, voluntary, and untrained and underpaid. So they're not on regular government
salary. They are volunteers.
They can't. Well, they can be held responsible, maybe also, but the point is that they are not up to the mark, in a sense, because they are not trained. They're not equipped to be able to deal with the classrooms and the responsibilities. So you have as a result, the quality declining, and then everybody makes a noise like us, etc.
There's been runaway food inflation. My own wife, and we're an upper middle class family, my wife complains that the amount of money that I'm earning now is not enough for us to have as good a meal as we had a couple of years ago. And if that is our reality, if you're not going to raise even the allocations for cooking costs with runaway food inflation, that's the kind of, I think that it is the center. It is a central scheme.
It's 2 rupees 50 paise for primary, and 2 rupees 20 paise to 3 rupees 75 for upper primary children as of
But it
2009
includes
onwards.
transportation,
that-
cooking costs, all of that. So
Oh,
food
God.
cost actually is much
and without
less.
storage, this lady,
Yeah.
and I was saying,
But
I
even
feel,
then,
I feel,
this sounds like an abysmal figure.
an
yeah, and she see you would do, sorry, you would as a homemaker, you would at least do a monthly purchase so that you'd save some cost. Now these people didn't have a place to store, so she had to go every day to buy. Just every single day she went and bought rations. Now some mistake happened, but we're going to crucify that lady.
Yeah.
I just have only sympathy for her, and I think she was still trying to do her job in some kind of way. I think
So
that
who should we pin responsibility for?
I think that
let's
is
narrow
a
it down to
problem
what
in the
happened in
whole
Chhapra.
education department, that there are no responsibilities or accountabilities fixed at any level, and this does not apply only to midday meal but also to midday meals. So if anything goes wrong, you don't really know who to go to. So you could go, I mean, at some level, of course, collectively the responsibility must be taken by HRD or the HRD minister. But on the ground, I mean, so who is responsible for the fact that there was a container which used to contain insecticide lying in the kitchen shed or anywhere in the school that could possibly have been used? Who's responsible for the fact that the grain doesn't? I mean, there is a range of different things, but those responsibilities haven't been fixed, so that when something goes wrong, you can say, look, it was your job, you didn't do it, and this is the consequence of it. This whole, the administrative system just has avoided the issue of accountability fixing from top to bottom across the board. So you every time it happens, you find some scapegoat, and as Harsh has rightly said, typically it is the person at the bottom who's made the scapegoat. It's either the cook for midday meals or the teacher for other issues related to education. But in fact, they are just the smallest cog in the whole wheel, and they do function under a lot of constraints as well, none of which are ever addressed in trying to find a solution or trying to think ahead that what is the next step to be done. I think the department needs to take a very comprehensive look at what are the entitlements, what it's supposed to deliver, and against each of them fix the responsibility of a particular officer or whoever in government, and so that when something goes wrong, you know exactly where to go and ask them the right questions. This was your job, why didn't you do it? And if you consistently fail to do it, is there going to be some penalties? What's the response going to be? But it just doesn't exist. The system doesn't exist. So each time when there is a tragedy like this, that people run helter to skelter trying to pin blame, and perhaps they will pin the blame, but it's not going to solve the problem for the next time.
We will come back in the second part of the series to talk about why this